picture this scenario. You're sitting at a stoplight, and you glance over at the lane right next to you.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And the driver in that lane is behind the wheel of this pristine, brand new luxury SUV, like over 100 grand easily.
Oh yeah, the ultimate status symbol.
Right. And they're wearing designer sunglasses. They're sipping some sort of artisanal iced coffee, just looking every bit the part of someone who has entirely made it.
Like they don't have a care in the world.
Exactly. But then you look up in your rearview mirror, and the car right behind you is a 10-year-old, slightly dented sedan.
Let me guess. Driven by someone in a faded hoodie.
Yes, a faded, completely nondescript college hoodie. Now, if someone forced you to guess who is actually closer to total financial independence, our immediate cultural instinct is to point straight to the luxury SUV.
Well, yeah, I mean, because that's what wealth looks like to us.
Right, but the reality is often the exact opposite, because the person in that faded hoodie in the dented sedan might actually possess the capital to buy and sell the SUV driver like 10 times over without even blinking.
Which is such a wild concept to wrap your head around.
It really is. And welcome to today's deep dive. We're talking directly to you, the listener who really wants to crack the code on true financial independence.
Yeah, because we're going to completely flip the script on what success actually looks like today.
We are. Today, we're exploring this completely counterintuitive idea that the absolute fastest way to build wealth isn't by looking rich, it's by looking completely deliberately ordinary.
I mean, it requires a fundamental rewiring of how we perceive success. We live in this environment of just hyper-visibility.
Social media everywhere.
Exactly.
Wow.
Where the appearance of wealth is constantly conflated with the reality of it. But the math tells a remarkably different story.
And our compass for this journey today is a fascinating video guide that we've been analyzing. It's titled Silent Prosperity, 14 Smart Moves to Stealth Wealth.
It's a great piece of content. Really breaks down the mechanics.
It does. And our mission today is to pull apart these 14 principles and discover how the truly wealthy build their fortunes quietly, operating totally off the radar, far away from all those flashy Instagram posts.
And, more importantly, how you can apply these surprisingly ordinary tactics to your own life.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we get into the specific financial mechanics, we have to start with a foundational mindset shift. We need to completely redefine what wealth actually looks like.
Right, long before you even think about opening a spreadsheet or looking at an investment portfolio.
Yeah. The source material has this brilliantly stark definition to anchor that shift. It says that wealth is what you do not see.
Which sounds like a riddle, but it's true. It's an unspent capital. It's the investments, the cash reserves, the quiet equity in a business that's just working behind the scenes.
It's the money that hasn't been turned into stuff yet.
Exactly. Because every time you see someone driving a $100,000 car, the only actual data point you have about their financial situation is that they now have $100,000 less than they did before they bought it.
Right. I mean, it's so simple when you say it like that. I was actually thinking about an analogy for this whole concept of looking rich versus being rich.
Oh, yeah. What did you come up with?
Well, think about looking rich as spending all your money to build this incredibly flashy, elaborate movie set facade.
Okay, I like this. Like an old Western town set.
Yeah, exactly. It looks amazing from the street, painted perfectly, looks expensive. But if you walk behind it, there's absolutely nothing there. It's just a couple of wooden beams holding up a painted wall, one strong gust of wind, and the whole thing comes crashing down.
Because there's no foundation. It's all just for the audience.
Right. But being rich, true stealth wealth, is quietly taking your time to build a solid, weatherproof brick house hidden deep in the woods.
Nobody driving by on the highway can see it.
Nobody sees it, nobody knows it's there, but when the storm hits, you are completely safe and warm inside.
What's fascinating here is how moves 1 and 3 from the guide map perfectly onto that brick house analogy. They emphasize living below your means and fiercely avoiding lifestyle inflation.
Because the guide explicitly notes, a raise does not require a lifestyle upgrade.
Right. It says the true fuel for wealth creation isn't your gross income. It's the gap between your earning and your spending. That gap is the actual oxygen your financial future needs.
And moves 5, 9, and 10 hit on this too. Buying quality instead of luxury. Like, the source bluntly states that your bank account won't care about brand names.
No, it won't. Buying an asset puts money into your pocket while buying appearances just constantly drains it. You have to focus on net worth over status.
But okay, let me push back on this for a second, because I understand the math. Building the hidden brick house makes logical sense. But let's talk about the reality of living that out. It is phenomenally difficult to avoid lifestyle inflation when everyone in your immediate circle is constantly upgrading.
Oh, absolutely. It's the keeping up with the Joneses effect.
Yeah, I mean, you secure a major promotion, right? And suddenly your peers at work are driving nicer cars, they're moving to these exclusive zip codes, talking about their country club memberships.
And you're still pulling up in the dented sedan.
Right. The pressure to conform there isn't just societal, it feels almost biological. So how does someone actually mentally resist that intense everyday pressure to prove they belong in that new tier of success?
Well, you nailed it when you said it feels biological. Because that pressure is entirely biological.
Wait, really? It's hardwired.
Completely. I mean, evolutionarily, human beings are hardwired to signal their value to the tribe. Thousands of years ago, signaling value meant displaying physical strength, right? Or showing off the results of a successful hunt.
Okay, so bringing back the biggest mammoth.
Exactly. Because it meant you were a good provider, which meant you were safe to keep around. Today, that instinct translates directly into showing off purchasing power.
Ah. So when your income increases, your caveman brain says, show everyone the mammoth.
Yes, the immediate instinctual impulse is to broadcast your new status, so the modern tribe knows you've leveled up. But the trap of the modern economy is that broadcasting success is incredibly expensive.
It drains all your fuel.
Every single dollar you spend proving to strangers that you're wealthy is a dollar that is no longer working to actually make you wealthy.
You're spending the wealth just to buy the illusion of wealth.
Precisely. And the trick to breaking that biological loop is shifting the source of your dopamine.
How so?
The guide suggests transferring your focus from external status to internal net worth. Once you make that mental shift, your net worth acts as this psychological armor.
So you start deriving your pride from the numbers on the screen instead of the car in the driveway.
Right. You get your pride not from the logo on your steering wheel, but from those invisible numbers compounding in your investment account. You begin to look at the driver in that luxury SUV and realize,
They're probably drowning in debt.
yeah, they're likely chained to massive monthly payments. They're working for the vehicle. But when your focus shifts to your net worth, the capital is working for you.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean for the actual day-to-day? Because cultivating that internal security leads us directly into the second pillar of this strategy.
The engine room.
Exactly. Because once you start bleeding cash to look rich, you suddenly have a surplus. And the immediate danger is that your human brain will look at that surplus and try to find a way to spend it anyway.
Oh, we will definitely try to spend it.
So we have to build automated defenses. We have to move out of the philosophy and into the actual mechanics.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where stealth wealth transforms from just a nice philosophical idea into an inescapable mathematical reality.
Because it removes us from the equation.
Right. The guide focuses heavily on move 2, which is removing willpower entirely. Willpower is a depleting resource.
You only have so much of it every day.
Exactly. If you have to make a conscious, active decision to save or invest your money every single month, eventually you will experience a moment of weakness.
You'll have an exhausting week at work.
You're tired, you're stressed, you see a perfectly targeted ad for vacation on your phone, and you will justify spending that surplus.
So the system basically breaks down the exact moment you introduce human emotion.
Which is why the source emphasizes automating your investments. You set up the transfers to happen the very second your paycheck hits your checking account.
Before you can even touch it.
You never see the money, so you never feel the psychological loss of saving it. It completely bypasses your conscious decision-making process.
I love that. And then the guide pairs that automated offense with some really heavy defenses. Moves 8 and 13.
The boring but essential stuff.
Right, specifically avoiding high-interest consumer debt, because that quietly destroys your wealth, and building a robust emergency fund. But let me stop you right there.
Okay, what's the hang-up?
Because this is where I actually get genuinely skeptical.
Wait on me.
Having tens of thousands of dollars just sitting in a basic, easily accessible savings account, especially while inflation is running hot, it feels counterproductive.
It feels like you're losing money.
Yeah. Isn't an emergency fund just dead money? Like, it's losing its purchasing power year after year. Why wouldn't a rational person invest that cash buffer into the market to capture the yield?
I get this question all the time, and it looks like dead money if you view it purely as an investment. But an emergency fund is not an investment.
What is it then?
It is an insurance policy against forced liquidation.
Forced liquidation. Okay, explain that.
Imagine you have all your capital tied up in equities. Every penny is in the stock market to capture that yield.
Sounds great so far.
Right. Until the broader economy enters a severe recession, the stock market drops 30%. And simultaneously, because it's a recession, you face a sudden medical emergency or a job loss.
Oh, wow. Okay, the worst case scenario.
Exactly. And because you don't have a cash buffer, you are forced to sell your investments at the absolute bottom of the market just to keep the lights on and pay your rent.
So you lock in all those losses permanently.
You don't just lock in the losses, you destroy the capital that was supposed to compound for the next 20 years. That one forced liquidation event can set your financial timeline back by an entire decade.
That's terrifying.
Right. So the cash buffer sitting in a savings account, sure, it might lose a few percentage points to inflation every year, but it acts as a moat around your castle.
So you never have to sell your stocks.
Exactly. It allows your investments to remain entirely untouched during economic turbulence.
Well, that reframes the concept completely. It's not about the yield on the cash, it's about the protection of the compounding machine.
That's the perfect way to put it.
And speaking of the machine, the guide has this brilliant transition. It goes from these incredibly passive money systems like automation to intensely active personal systems.
Moves 6 and 7, building multiple income streams and increasing your skills.
Right. It points out the sheer fragility of relying on a single employer. But the piece that really caught my attention was how it categorized your own skills as wealth-generating assets.
Oh, this is crucial.
Like reading, taking courses, learning new tech. Why is skill acquisition positioned as such a core pillar of a financial strategy? It almost sounds like self-help instead of finance.
It sounds like self-help, but it's pure economics. Because skills are the only asset class that is entirely immune to market crashes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Think about it. Financial resilience isn't just about the money you've already accumulated. It's about your continuous capacity to generate value, regardless of the macroeconomic climate.
So if the stock market tanks, it doesn't matter as much.
Right. If fiat currency inflates, or if the real estate market contracts, your ability to code, to write, or to manage complex projects, that does not depreciate.
They can't tax your skills.
Exactly. By constantly acquiring new skills, you turn yourself into the ultimate appreciating asset.
And skills compound too, right? In a way that's maybe difficult to quantify on a spreadsheet, but impossible to ignore.
Absolutely.
Like if you spend 6 months learning how to negotiate effectively, that one skill applies to every single job offer, every vendor contract, and every business deal you do for the rest of your life.
Return on investment is infinite.
I just love the contrast there. You want your money systems to be on absolute boring autopilot,
Right.
but you want your personal growth to be manual, aggressive, and constant.
And you know the irony of that? The active pursuit of those skills often provides the dopamine hit that people were previously trying to get by buying luxury goods.
Oh, wow. So you just swapped the high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You replace the thrill of a new purchase with
Uh-huh.
the thrill of a new capability.
Okay, so setting up these automated transfers, reading a few books, it sounds really straightforward on paper. I mean, it might take a weekend to get the mechanics in place.
It's very simple.
But, and here is where it gets really interesting. Letting those systems run silently in the background for a quarter of a century, that requires a profound level of mental endurance.
Which introduces the absolute hardest part of stealth wealth. Surviving the psychological isolation.
The waiting.
The mechanics of wealth building are remarkably simple. It's the waiting that breaks people.
And the guide addresses this head-on with Move 4. It emphasizes the strategic advantage of extreme privacy, keeping your financial goals completely to yourself.
Which is a powerful financial shield.
But let me ask you about the reality of that isolation. If you are doing everything right, you're aggressively saving, you're building this invisible empire in the background, but you are deliberately driving an old car and pretending to just scrape by like everyone else, doesn't it feel deeply alienating?
It can, yeah.
Because you're achieving these massive milestones, but you can't celebrate them with your friends or family. Is it incredibly lonely? Or is it secretly liberating because you answer to no one?
This raises an important question, and it really forces you to ask, whose life are you actually living?
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you publicly share your goals, you are inadvertently inviting an audience onto the board of directors of your life.
The board of directors. I love that phrasing.
And suddenly you start caring about their opinions, their timelines, and their benchmarks for success.
Right, because you've told them what you're doing.
Exactly. If you announce at a family dinner that you plan to achieve financial independence in 10 years, you have just created a massive, unnecessary external pressure cooker.
Oh, I see. And if the market has a bad year and you fall a little behind schedule, you experience public shame for a journey that was supposed to be deeply personal.
Precisely. You feel like you're failing them. Furthermore, sharing your success often invites jealousy.
Oh, totally.
You get unsolicited advice or sudden expectations of financial support from cousins you haven't spoken to in years. The friction of constantly setting boundaries with family and friends can be exhausting.
So keeping it private removes the friction.
Yes. When you keep the goals private, the locus of control remains entirely internal. You aren't performing your life for an audience. You are simply executing the plan.
You're operating completely off the stage.
And that perceived loneliness, it's actually a profound form of liberation. Like you said, you answered to no one but yourself.
And you really need that distraction-free environment to survive the final moves 11 and 14. The math of compounding.
The heavy lifting.
Right. The guide places massive emphasis on letting compound growth do the work and warning investors to stay away from financial FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Which is everywhere right now.
It is. Wealthy investors don't chase every new stock or cryptocurrency trend because, as the source states, consistency usually beats excitement.
I always tell people, if you are experiencing excitement while investing, you are likely doing something very wrong.
Wait, investing shouldn't be exciting.
No. Excitement usually indicates speculation, not investment.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
The primary reason people abandon their automated, stealthy strategy to chase a shiny new trend is because they do not intuitively understand exponential math.
Because our brains don't work that way.
Right. The human brain evolved to understand linear progression. We understand that if we gather 1 apple a day, in 5 days we have 5 apples. Simple.
Right.
But compounding operates exponentially. And the early stages of an exponential curve look exactly like a flat line.
The boring middle.
I call it the valley of
A
disappointment.
valley of disappointment. I like that.
Because if you invest a modest amount of money, you might only generate a few dollars in returns that first year. You look at your account, you see the sacrifices you made by not buying the luxury car, and your brain tells you that the sacrifice just isn't worth the tiny reward.
You think, I gave up the nice car for this?
Exactly. And that is the exact moment most people quit. They succumb to the FOMO. They see someone on social media claiming they doubled their money in 3 weeks on a speculative crypto asset, and they abandon a strategy that was mathematically guaranteed to work over time.
And the guide captures that exact behavioral failure perfectly. There's a great quote. It notes, most people dramatically overestimate what they can achieve in a few months and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 or 20 years.
Which is so true. We are culturally conditioned to expect the sprint.
We want the movie montage sequence where everything changes in 3 minutes.
With the uplifting soundtrack.
Exactly. But stealth wealth is a marathon run in absolute darkness.
But if you have the psychological armor to endure that flat line, to survive that valley of disappointment without getting distracted by the noise, the math eventually goes vertical.
The snowball effect.
Right. The interest starts earning interest. The dividends buy more shares, which in turn pay more dividends. You eventually cross a threshold where your capital is generating more wealth in a single month than your physical labor could generate in a whole year.
Which is the ultimate goal.
It is. Time is the single greatest lever available to an investor, but it demands a ruthless refusal to be entertained by your money.
You have to be completely okay with your neighbors assuming you are financially stagnant while your portfolio is quietly cresting into the 7 figures.
Absolutely. The less energy you expend trying to convince the world that you have capital, the more capital you actually retain.
So stealth wealth isn't just a defensive financial tactic. It's an overarching philosophy of quiet, unshakable confidence.
It creates an impenetrable fortress. You become completely anti-fragile because your stability relies on systems and math, not on the shifting sands of social perception.
That is so powerful. Let's synthesize the mechanics of this journey for everyone listening. To you, the listener, the roadmap provided by this deep dive strips away the exhausting performance of modern success.
It really does.
Building real generational wealth does not require a massive immediate windfall, and it certainly doesn't require designer labels, luxury leases, or the validation of strangers.
None of that matters.
What it requires is the discipline to cut the aerodynamic drag of lifestyle inflation. It requires the foresight to build automated systems that protect you from your own impulses.
And the wisdom to prioritize an emergency mode over maximizing every single dollar of yield.
Yes, and most importantly, it requires the psychological endurance to stay incredibly quiet. Because true wealth is not the ability to accumulate flashy objects. True wealth is the ultimate freedom over your own time and energy.
It's having options.
Exactly. And the beauty of this strategy is that it is entirely democratic. You can begin implementing these invisible habits today, redirecting the fuel of your income toward your freedom rather than your facade.
And, that leads us to a really complex destination.
What's that?
Well, we've spent all this time breaking down how the discipline of stealth wealth builds this unshakable foundation, giving you ultimate financial freedom.
Right.
But consider the long-term psychological implications of this. If you spend 2 or 3 decades mastering the art of invisibility, training your brain to ignore status, to hide your success, and to find comfort in looking completely ordinary while secretly building an empire, what happens when you finally cross the finish line?
Oh, that's a good question.
When you achieve unquestionable financial independence, does the disguise eventually become the reality?
Like you forget how to take it off.
Exactly. Does the habit of hiding your wealth become a psychological prison of its own, where you are forever afraid to actually utilize the freedom you've built? Or does that habit force a higher evolution, pushing you to redefine your entire identity and purpose, completely independent of money altogether?
Wow. That is a fascinating paradox to leave hanging in the air. Does the armor eventually become the skin?
It's definitely something to think about.
It's something for all of us to wrestle with as we map out our own financial trajectories. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the surprisingly quiet world of true wealth. We love taking these principles, challenging the conventional wisdom, and exploring the mechanics with you. Keep your systems running, guard your focus from the noise, and keep building the invisible fortress. We will catch you on the next deep dive.